ones that have the pourers, like a Cabbie Shack.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
They
you got
have
the
them over
drinks
there?
right from the gun, right?
Yeah.
And it's a pourer, but it
It goes
Yeah.
over the neck of the bottle. Yeah,
So you're still pouring like a regular drink, but you can't pour any more
Right.
into it.
Yep.
I mean, that's a nice feature.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of takes something away, but putting all that nostalgia bullshit aside, like, it's a good way to do it.
Yes.
Where you don't have to weigh the bottles and track it. Like,
Right.
It's pretty rad.
I knew a guy who's him and his daughter owned a bar, and they implemented that. He's like, our profits went through the roof.
I bet.
Mm-hmm. He's like, because you got exactly what you were supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
In the same aspect, you can't kind of like take care of your regulars the same way.
There's other ways you can.
Right, yeah.
I don't think I'd ever do it at Speedwell, but there's worse ways.
Yeah.
Right.
I
You
feel
could
like-
add a surcharge to pay the kitchen staff. You know what I mean? You could always do that.
Welcome back to the Bar Talk Podcast. I am Andy, your host. I am.
Hi, Andy.
Hey, audience. Is that supposed to get me like used to like the audience thing?
It's not expected out of
I don't think anybody was.
we got to keep that, right?
It's not going anywhere. Are you kidding?
Thanks, man. I had to look at fish. Make sure.
Yeah, if it makes fish laugh, it stays. That's usually how it works. Okay. So what the fuck was I saying? You totally threw me.
Sorry, just get out of my
Welcome
meeting.
to the New York Podcast. No, wait. I fucked it up too. Welcome to the Bar Talk
Bar Talk Podcast. And
Third
that
time's
That is
the
Andy
charm.
from Inebriart.
yes.
And we are sitting here with Jordan Chabot of Speedwell. Hi, Andy. Dan Mahoney of Stats.
Hi, Andy.
Karl Heine of New World Tavern.
Hello, everybody.
And Fish is behind the dish.
Then we are at New World Tavern where we record. Thank you,
Thanks,
Karl.
Karl.
You're welcome.
It's like saying a Hail Mary. Like, you have to do it every
Yeah,
time we fucking record.
Every time you fuck up, you have to say 4. Thank you, Karl.
Drink all my booze. while we
Thank
do
you,
this till
Karl.
10:30 in the
Thank you,
morning.
Karl. So, shit's been weird the past couple of years, obviously, with COVID and whatnot, and we've seen some places that I never thought I would see close. You know, it's been weird. But some places are starting to open up. Some new businesses we're starting to see, which I can't imagine trying to open a restaurant now. To me, that sounds crazy. But the same thing with breweries. I know we were just at Brewery 44. They opened up during COVID. Are we reaching a saturation point? That's kind of like what we decided we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
How much is too much?
I think it depends on what
5.
aspect of the industry you're looking at. Like, are we looking at, like, so we could break it up. Brewery, restaurant, what kind of restaurant? Is it full service, or is it a place you run and grab a sandwich? I don't know. It's hard to tell. So immediately you would be like, yeah, there's a restaurant on every corner right now. That's got to reach a point where there's not enough people. Yeah, I went to go to a friggin' Jersey Mike's the other day to get a sandwich, and I had to wait 45 minutes for it. And, you know, it's not, yeah, they have a lack of staff, and they were all working their asses off. It's not a knock on them, but there were people in line willing to wait that long for a sandwich when there's a market basket down the street. So there might be oversaturation immediately when you look at it, but are there people out there for it? Like, there are enough people to go around? I don't know. It's kind of the question we're asking here. That's just an example.
I thought you were just wrapping up the whole episode.
Thanks for
Thanks for listening. Last call.
But I mean, the one thing that really, when we started kind of kicking this idea around, that like jumped to my mind is, and this is, I hate to think that this is the case because Inebriart works, I'd say like 50% of the things we do is with small breweries. But I feel like within the next, I said 3 years, Karl said that's being generous, that we're going to see a lot of these breweries like disappear. At some point, the public can only drink so much beer.
Yeah, but you know what? Are they buying less local beer, or are they buying just less of the other shit? And that's the thing, like, the public's always going to drink a shitload of beer. Like, we saw it during lockdown when the restaurants weren't open. Package stores were getting cleaned out. Like, breweries couldn't be open for that. You know, they weren't selling out of their breweries, you know, and those that were lucky enough to be in package stores are big enough to handle them, like Mayflower locally here, were doing great. But the smaller breweries that weren't open, they weren't. Now it was going back to the macro beer. So I don't know. I think personally, I don't think there's an oversaturation.
See, I see kind of the overcorrection from that initial days of COVID because everyone was drinking their face off.
Right.
And now with the legalization, especially in this state, I can't speak for other states, but with the legalization of marijuana and people being like, I went too hard during COVID, so many people I know aren't drinking anymore. And I think if you look, beer sales are typically down from what I hear. And, you know, there's only, you can have, every business has their share of the market, but that market is only one circle. It's one pie. Like, you need more new drinkers to enable more businesses to, and you see these smaller breweries like starting to expand. And I always felt when I saw a restaurant expand, be like, well, they'll be closed in like a year because it's inevitable. The only one I think I've ever seen do it really successful was Haddad's in Marshfield.
Carl expanded quite a bit here.
Yeah.
You know, he bought out Guilty Bakery and
Yeah,
whole
for
extension
sure.
here.
Sorry. Give me credit.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
sorry.
Always forgetting about Karl.
But
Yeah.
I'm with you on the breweries. I think that these small, super small local breweries, there's almost 2 in every town now.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's going to be, let's go to the local brewery. It's become your local bar. You don't have to get food. You can just sit there and have a couple of beers. You can stay as long as you want. You can leave. But I think you're right. I think at some point, it's not going to be enough money. They're not going to generate enough revenue to keep them afloat.
Yeah.
Because if they can't get those people in, and yeah, you can expand, but that doesn't mean you're going to fill your restaurant. If every time you expanded, you filled your restaurant, I'd have the biggest restaurant in the world.
Right.
I just think that at some point there is going to be people that say, I'm done going to the breweries because I can only get Joe Schmo's beer at Joe Schmo's brewery. Let's go to the bar where I can get his beer and everybody else's at the same spot, and I can get something to eat. So I do think it's probably peaked right now, but I've been wrong before.
I don't think they're
I just
going
don't
away.
think-
but,
no, I don't think
yeah.
they're going away, but only the strong will survive.
Yeah.
And you really have to have good beer. I mean, you have to have people really come and like your beer.
And I think what we're riding right now is it is my local brewery, and it's 5 minutes from my house. But you're right. Like, we've talked about it before, where Karl, you said you always wanted to have the Bud Light. So when you have 4 craft beer drinkers come in and the 5th guy's a Bud Light, you don't want them leaving because he wants a Bud Light.
Right.
I mean, those drinkers are out there. And the other thing, I mean, the economy's not looking awesome. And if I can go out and drink one $5 beer or 3 PBRs, you know, people don't stop drinking. They just do it more efficiently.
Well, every brewery's making the same beer now. It's all IPAs, IPA.
That's a great point that I was
Yeah.
just going to make too, is in order for you to get people into your place, you have to be different. And
Exactly.
if you're in a brewery and there's 1,000 different, nano breweries now, what really can you do different than everybody else is not doing?
Yeah, and I think everyone's been drinking the New England IPA for so long. I mean, I personally don't care about them anymore. Like, I don't know about you guys. Jordan doesn't care about
Well,
anything anymore, so.
Yeah, I'm all,
I've never been more fucking on the bullseye.
But I think,
don't feel
like,
anything anymore.
Breweries need that next big beer to drop to help them out if they're all going to stick around like this.
I don't think there's another big beer. Back in the 80s, you had Sam Adams come out, you had Sierra Nevada come out. I mean, these were huge breweries that started from nothing.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to get another brewery to ever do that again.
I don't mean
I
like.
don't think another brewery's going to open up
Yep.
that's going to be the next Sam Adams or the next Sierra Nevada.
I agree with that.
I don't think there is one.
I don't mean like in the size though. I mean like the next like hot beer. that
No,
everyone's
I mean,
making.
everybody's
Style
doing
of beer.
sours.
Style of beer, yeah.
I don't think there's anything left.
But
But, we say that, and then we got the hard seltzers coming out.
Yep.
right.
But
even
even when
that's-
the hard seltzers came out, I would have said, it's a fad.
And everyone's
Yep.
looking for
Still
that
there.
next thing. You can
Yeah.
see it. People
Right.
coming out with matcha beer, coming out with these Korean rice
What
beers.
What is the next big thing?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, maybe I'm looking at it from a different sense, but I disagree with all that.
But we don't care.
Shut off his mic.
Yeah, I don't see an oversaturation yet. I think we've been saying this for like 5-6 years now, and nothing's changed. In fact,
I don't think yet, but I think it's coming.
I've definitely said it before, and I'm still amazed at how busy these places are.
right. And that's the thing. Like, look at the market in general. I think any other market. Look at the housing market, for example. I'm trying to buy a house right now. Sellers it's a seller's market tenfold. People came out of the pandemic with some money, man, and people spend money differently now. And I think breweries offer a different environment than a restaurant does. I think it's a little bit more free. I think debate on what your philosophy is
No,
on this.
I
You can bring your kids, you can bring your dogs.
Don't
I
bring your
agree with
kids.
everything you've said. Go ahead.
Yep. So I think there is that, and it's not like we have restaurants across the street from each other and side by side from each other. You don't have breweries to that point yet. If we got to that point,
There's some.
then yeah, maybe.
Barrel House Z and Vitamin C.
Right, that's
Yeah.
true, but they do offer completely different products.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think people make a day of it when they go there. Vitamin C commands the fanboy crowd, and I'm sure a lot of overflow goes to Barrel House Z. No offense to Barrel House Z at all. They make great beer, but I imagine they function more as a distribution brewery, not like a tap house brewery like Vitamin C with the limited releases and all that. You can't go to the package store and get Vitamin C. So you
Well,
have to go to the brewery to get it.
It's two different business models, and I'll disagree with you that it's not a tap room. We run events with them, and their tap room's busy as shit.
Yep.
And this becomes one of those, the two different types of breweries, and the ones that I don't like, and the ones that and it's not that I don't like Vitamin C, but these
That's not what he
ones.
said.
I corrected myself, but it's these ones where like, okay, this is the beer we're coming out with now, and then in 2 weeks, this is the beer we're coming out with now.
Right.
So you don't have a beer that I can get all the time, like.
So it appeals to two different
Right.
kinds of people.
So like
it's
Barrel
not
House
the
Z
same
has
market.
like that kind of like, I can go in and be like, I'll take the usual.
Right.
You know. So it is
Right.
two different markets.
I
but-
mean, we live in New England where there's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street
I was
from a
just
Dunkin'
gonna make
Donuts,
that-
right?
yeah.
And it doesn't matter. They
No.
all have a line out the drive-through every day. You know, look at Chick-fil-A on the side of Jersey Mike's, on the side of Applebee's, on the side of this. I always bring up Applebee's. I don't know why, but they all are busy all day long. Like maybe it's Plymouth. I think it might be. And my blinders are on, but Plymouth's overpopulated right now. There's a new condo thing being built every freaking 10 minutes to compensate for the amount of people that live down here. And they're all people that are traveling up to the city, working, they don't cook for themselves, they live by themselves. Where do those people go? Breweries and bars. And I think I don't see an oversaturation happening in Plymouth anytime soon. I think we're struggling to keep up with the volume. At least I feel like I am struggling to keep up with the volume, the growth that's happening down here right now. And I think the town is struggling as well.
You're going to be able to tell in February when you hit those slow months
You're
whether
probably right.
you're oversaturated. Like right now, it's the busy time of year, but when you hit that, especially, I mean, it only works for around here, where the February sucks. Like people don't want to go outside, so you're going to find out if you're oversaturated.
Right.
It's cold.
Yep.
It's miserable. People
Yep.
are getting their credit card bills for
Yep.
Christmas. They're trying to save money or whatever the case may be. Gave up drinking. I don't know, all that February
Those
crap.
resolutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that applies to everybody, right? And February's been around since the beginning of a calendar. Like we've all survived February before. So what's the difference now?
Well,
Well, not the new places. So they'll
But it's
find
also-
out if
They
they
survived the
survive.
pandemic.
But
Not
this is
the
also
new
one of those
places.
things is like, I'll be interested to see how things pan out this winter because kind of the pandemic leniency is over. The pandemic aid is kind
Right.
of over. Now it's kind of like, you know, those checks are going to come due. That
Sure.
like, you know, you've been able to kind of get help where you need it, and that help's not there anymore.
Once that funding is gone,
Yeah,
you
like
you
if-
have to stand on your own. Are people going to be able to stand on
Yeah.
their own?
Right.
Yep.
But I don't think there's any difference now than there was before the pandemic. If you had a shitty product or did a shitty job managing whatever your business was, it didn't survive.
There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
The,
Yeah.
the basics are the basics.
Right.
If people don't like you, you're going to fold.
Right. And
Yeah.
it goes right back to what
I
you
don't
said.
mean you, but your business.
Yeah,
That's
if
why
you
people
don't
like
have
me.
a good product, you're not going to survive. I just think, I don't know. If there were 12 breweries that opened up in Plymouth, what are we up to now? 7, I think.
5?
I don't even know.
We got.
Are we counting High Lim?
Yeah, I would count High Lim.
So that's
absolutely.
6.
So High Lim, Mayflower.
But I mean, even if it's
Indie
six
Firm.
breweries in Plymouth,
Llama Namas.
Yeah. Llama Nama.
Sour, not sorry.
it's going to
And
hurt
I'd say
the
Indie
other
Firm,
breweries when.
Second win, Jesus Christ.
Breweries
We're across
open
the
up.
street.
Yep.
I mean, if there was one brewery, would it be 7 times busier?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, at some point, 10% of that business is not going to be enough for your business.
yeah.
Well, they get to sell their building as much as they sell their product too. Like, I'm not gonna go personally. I'm not gonna go to someone just to get a beer. Like, I'm gonna go somewhere I want to hang out too. That-
Oh, no doubt.
So I think
But that's their
a big-
business model. That's just a business.
It should be
model.
their business model.
Right.
Yeah.
And if somebody at bar A is everybody starting to go into bar B,
Yep.
then change your model. You don't have to change your beer, but
Right.
change your model so that people come back to you.
You don't think there's truth to the more the merrier, like
I do.
making us a destination
I do.
because we have you see Portland, Maine.
Yep.
People drive and vacation there because they like the breweries.
No, I do. I
You
do
know?
think that the more restaurants, breweries, or whatever you have are open, the more people are going to flock to that area.
Right.
They might not come to the New World Tavern, but they're coming to downtown Plymouth and end up at the New World Tavern.
Right.
So I mean, it's always a thing. A crowd brings a crowd, but at what point does that crowd isn't as enough for?
And
everybody?
we're unique because we're a tourist town.
Just
That's why I
because-
think the Plymouth Blinders.
But-
are on
but
me.
that's what I'm
I
saying
think
is
you're
that-
right.
is
Yeah.
like-
if you have another restaurant opening up wherever you want to open it,
Right.
I mean, there's going to be people that are pulling from your place. You might still survive,
Right.
But when 30 of them open up, and you get all those people coming down to, let's say, Plymouth, because there's 30 restaurants that's walking around, it still might not be enough for 30 restaurants. It might be enough for 17,
Right.
but at
I don't think
some
we
point.
ever reach that point because of the natural attrition, and we've already seen that over the last 5 years. Like restaurants open all the time, but some of them survive, some of them don't.
Well, correct, but why don't they survive? I
'Cause
mean,
then maybe
to your
they're not-
point is, hey, it's not saturation. Well,
I think it's mismanagement.
there's no doubt that.
I think it's mismanagement. I don't think it's because there are plenty of.
But
people
this
to
is
go
that
around.
kind of saturation point. If there's more demand than there is product, you don't have to be as good of a manager.
Right.
You
And that's
know?
why they survive as long as they do. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some places, and let's just be frank here, that have been open in the last 5-10 years where we're like, oh, that's going to be 6 months. That ain't going to
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
And they're around for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's why. I think they can get by just being at least there's this place. You know what
Correct.
I mean?
But we are kind of looking at it through the Plymouth. We have our Plymouth glasses on.
Yeah,
You know,
for
there- I grew up in Whitman. Whitman is the second smallest town in Massachusetts by land area. They have a brewery, or did. I think it's still open. But there's one in Abington. There's two in Weymouth. I think there's one in Hanson now. Like, these aren't tourist destinations. There's a brewery in the next, at least one brewery in the next town. It's a small population. You know, at what point does every town need a brewery?
Maybe. I mean, if there's enough pride in that town and the beer's good, sure.
Yeah.
I think that's up to the brewery to decide how big do I need to be. You know, if there's a brewery open up in Whitman, it can be a 6-barrel system and they're small and they function their business on a smaller scale than Second Wind does, than Mayflower
Right.
does.
But I think I agree with Dan. Is there's got to be more to pull you into these places.
Yeah.
Well, especially
Than just the
an
beer,
off the
because-
map, off the grid place. Like,
Right.
I'm not driving to Whitman for. I don't
Right.
give
Why
a
would
shit.
I
I
go
wouldn't
to-
either,
when I
yeah.
go to,
Yeah, the high- it's not
7
near the
different ones
highway,
in
yeah.
Plymouth.
Yep.
Why would I drive all the way to Hanson when I'm getting, quote, the same style beers as I can anywhere else?
Yep.
Why take that trip?
Right. Yo, you're not going to get out of towners. You're depending on the
Right, but now
people
you're
in your
talking just
town.
Plymouth. Let's talk about
Right. And so, like, Plymouth here, I think we counted one time, and there's over 40 bars and restaurants between Main Court and Water Street.
Yep.
That doesn't happen and can't happen. You know, if you took these two streets and moved them to Whitman, 90% of those restaurants would
Right,
close.
I agree.
Yep.
There's definitely an oversaturation point. I just don't think we're even close to it as far as Plymouth is concerned. That's the
Yeah.
only one I can base it off of because that's where I do business.
Well,
And-
let's talk Boston.
Yep.
Okay.
I know nothing about Boston.
Same.
I do.
That's why we got Dan.
A lot of places had closed during the pandemic.
Yep.
People go by and say, "Oh my God, what an opportunity!" I remember when this place was crushing it, made billions of dollars, and that's what I'm going to do as soon as I open it. And they buy that restaurant. Can they survive on that same model now after COVID, when the guy that was doing all that business couldn't survive COVID?
The city's weird right now because they relied so much on people working in the city, like especially downtown Boston. Like, no one lives there, so that's why those places all closed. Like,
Because
there's a
everyone
lot-
was.
They all live
'cause-
here.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's all foot traffic from like you going out after work for drinks, or even just going out on the weekends around there. So like that's picking up back up, but like it's tough, like because a lot of people that moved there now didn't know that old place. So I don't think you can rely on something old like that. Like, and as far as like oversaturation, Boston's a way bigger city than Plymouth is, obviously, but we don't have that much congestion as around like it is around here too. So it's weird that it's so much here. But like even where I'm in South Boston, where the St. Patrick's Day Parade is a big drunk shit show, there's not as many bars on our Main Street as there is in Main Street Plymouth. So I think you could hit a saturation that way. Like,
Right, and I think that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
Like, I think Boston priced out its own people. The people
That's
that-
absolutely, yeah.
right,
And that's the
people
hardest
can't
part.
afford to live there anymore.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
why they're
I
not
think
drinking
Plymouth
there
is on
anymore.
its way there.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I agree.
yeah. Yep,
for
I
sure.
agree, and that's why they're scrambling to buy up, build all these condos.
Yeah.
It's crazy because people who are working in Boston and can't afford to live there are now moving to places like Weymouth and Plymouth.
And you have people.
It's
who-
honestly, though-
you have people that work in Plymouth that live in New Bedford because they can't afford to.
Yeah,
live
like,
there.
I look at the rents for
All my employees.
out here and for the city, and they're not that far off. So like Plymouth's on its way to pricing out like the common person that you think is going to be at Speedwell Tavern.
Right.
Soon they're not going to be able to afford to live in this, and they're going to move to.
Or if they do live
Kingston.
here, they can't afford to go out to eat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that I think we will understand what's oversaturated is the housing market.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily
But-
right now the bars. It's
You're saying it's going hand in hand though.
That's, yeah, that's
you're relying on
undersaturated
those
because
Yeah.
you're getting
people.
the money.
Right,
Yeah.
Housing was
Yep.
That's what I meant.
oversaturated, yeah.
correct. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody wants to be in Plymouth.
Right. So does Plymouth eventually get to the point where it's pricing out the people that we're making money off of right now?
That's
Yes.
Looks
For
like
sure.
it, yeah.
And that's where we're gonna hit that saturation
Yep.
point.
And I think it's because, me personally thinking, that, you're talking about all these, condos and apartments that are building, they're all luxury. What about Joe Schmo?
Right.
Like, I don't make luxury money. I just want, a place to sleep and eat and
Yeah.
keep my stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. So I live in New Bedford right now,
Yeah.
and I'm paying for a 1.5 bedroom. I'll call it because it's basically there's a half bedroom. That's where my kid sleeps. 15,
Is it like a cupboard under the stairs, like Harry Potter style?
Yeah, pretty much. That'd be so rad.
That's where Jordan sleeps.
Pretty much. So I pay over $1,500 to live there. That's no utilities, nothing. That's
Yeah.
bare bones. I've lived there for a little over a year. Their apartments that are opening up right now, a year since I moved there, now are $1,900.
Yeah.
This is in New Bedford,
Yeah.
and with nothing included.
New Bedford's kind of on the upswing, though.
It is,
Like,
but it's
I've
behind
had
Plymouth.
Yeah, for sure.
We should open a
Yeah.
bar in New Bedford.
I'm already on
All
it,
right.
guys.
Let's call it 5s and 6s. That way it'll get listed before
Fucking
6s and
guy.
7s.
Fucking guy. Whatever. I'm not having fun anymore. If you can't tell. So I guess that would be the saturation point for me. I'm not seeing it right now, but if we're taking all those things into consideration and you think it's going to move as fast as 2 and 3 years, yeah, sure.
Listen.
you could definitely, you get oversaturation of anything.
If we knew, we'd be rich people.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I ate 24 Slim Jims yesterday. I tell you what, I was oversaturated with Slim Jims.
You ate 24 Slim Jims?
You keep them in my car and you
Were you,
just
like,
fucking
thirsty all
ripping
night?
through 'em. Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. I'm paying for it today.
Was your chest a little tight after that?
Yeah, keto. You
Here
can
we
eat
go.
24 Slim Jims. I don't think that's how it
No
works.
slice of bread though.
we got a listener question. Would you rather hear someone talk about being vegan or keto?
I'm trying to get hate mail here, guys.
It's like the old joke. How do you know somebody's a vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
Fantastic.
Do we want to do some questions now? Or we
I
like
think we
beat that?
one to
All
death.
right.
Yeah.
Now that we derailed it
That
with
was
Pig
almost like a
Majority.
serious conversation.
It was pretty
Sorry,
serious.
some
Sometimes we do
questions.
that.
Yeah, get rid of that.
That's what got us to Vegas, kids.
It definitely wasn't the serious podcasts.
Okay. Jeff Berkowitz. Shut up. Don't look over my shoulder how I'm reading.
I can't wait to watch
Just
you do
say
this
first
live.
names. Go ahead.
Okay, Jeff. Knowing what you know now, how many months of operating and food costs do you wish you would have had on hand before opening your restaurant? I mean, do you like is
Well-
Jeannie wish all of them?
When I was opening mine, I had talked to somebody who had a lot of respect for, already had their restaurant open. And he says, I don't care how much money you have for backup money for when you want to open it, triple it. And I'm like, yeah. And I should have tripled it when we opened.
Yeah.
But back then I did a lot of mistakes. It was my first restaurant. I mean, I probably would never make these mistakes again, knock on wood, if I could. But yeah, whatever you're thinking you need, triple it. And if you don't spend it, good for you.
It's
Right.
money.
Yep.
Doesn't
Yeah.
go bad.
But it all depends on what you want to do. I mean, at the New World Tavern, we had to gut the place and change plumbing and electrical and where the bar was. And I mean, it was a lot of money.
And that's always one of those things that, like, when you start, you're like, oh shit, this is a thing too.
Yeah.
And
or are you just, is it a turnkey operation where you just, changing the name of the building and coming in? So that's going to add a lot to it. But operating costs, you need more. You need more.
You need a cushion. You're not going to open
You
up.
need more.
I don't care how oversaturated we are.
Yeah.
You're not going to open the door and have a full restaurant.
Right.
And for every one thing you plan for, there's 10 things you're not thinking about.
do you feel there's that initial, because I feel like no matter, you say you're not going to turn the key and open up and have a full restaurant. I feel like when restaurants do that, there is that first week where everyone comes out and be like, I want to try the new place. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that gives you kind of like a false sense of like, things are going to be great?
Yes.
For sure.
You're like, this is amazing. We're
When you
full
open
every
up and
night.
You have a great first week or a great first 2 weeks, you're like, this is how it's going to be all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 3 months come by and you're like, 2 for 1 on Wednesdays.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really is, because people want to try the new place. And if they like you, that's great. That doesn't mean they're going to come back every week.
Yep.
Right.
And your regular is going to be more irregular at the beginning than...
Because they don't want to pack. Regulars don't want to come into a place and be like, I got to wait for a seat.
Well, not only that,
Yeah.
but you're not going to get the regulars because, somebody comes in once a week for the first 2 months, might never come back again.
Right.
It takes a long time to get those regulars. It's you want people to come back, absolutely, but you want your regulars. Depends on what you think those things are.
Yeah, in my experience, you get excited, you're spending all this time in the building before it opens, and you have your idea of what the identity is going to be. You throw that out the window. It's not going to
Your
be
restaurant is not what you think it's
No,
going to be.
your
Yeah.
clientele is going to dictate
That's
what
right.
your restaurant's going to be,
Your
and that's
restaurant's
going
going to morph, and if you don't morph with it, you're going to be closed.
Right.
And if you morph with what the clientele wants, that's a great point. If you morph to what the clientele wants, it might not be what you wanted to start with, but it's going to be a slow transfer. And if you don't change with the needs,
correct.
then you're not going to be out of
You'd
business.
be very fluid,
Yeah.
Have to be.
like Jordan's P-bottle.
And if
in his
anybody
car.
comes up to you and says, I'm opening a new restaurant, and this is what we're going to do. Here's our concept, here's this, here's that. Everybody's going to love it. I would say you're going to be out of business in 6 months.
I would tell them I hate it. Just so not everyone.
Just say, hey, this is the concept we're going for.
Yeah.
I really hope it works. Okay, now I know that you're really into the business.
Yep.
Right.
But for someone that comes up and says, no, you're wrong, this is what it's going to be, people are going to love this stuff. What if only half the people you think is going to love it?
Yeah.
Right.
I when Dan said I'll tell him I hate it, I love that, and because people tell me, we've helped people start podcasts, and they're like, oh, what advice would you give them? And I always say don't, because if me telling you don't is enough for you to even hesitate, you're not gonna make it.
Right.
Right.
Like if someone comes up and says I hate your food, is gonna get you so like in an uproar. You're not gonna make it. 'Cause-
You could talk about podcasts too. If you did a podcast and nobody ever listened, you change it. You still want to do the podcast. You might change it a little bit, and then slowly it comes up to something else. And when you're talking about
Old
restaurants,
Colony Cast.
now you're talking. Well, yeah,
Old Colony Cast is a perfect example.
Yep.
When we started that, it was a total different animal. It sucked. It was terrible. It kind of went on hiatus because we didn't really know what we wanted to do. We couldn't make it right, and just dumb luck. We got Hannah involved.
Hannah to the rescue.
And now everyone's like, oh, it's my favorite show. I'm like, hey, thanks, guys. We got 2 other shows. Thanks for listening. You're on the other show, Dan. You can listen.
I'm not on it. I told
You're
you.
on this one. You
I
can
listen to this one.
Don't go in with blinders on. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, but everybody has them
Right.
because everybody's going to say, yeah, whatever,
Yep.
and they're going to go in blinders on.
You're not going into it to enlighten anybody. You're
No,
providing a service.
Yep.
So be the service that the people
So
want.
this is an interesting thing because we bitch about this all the time. Is people coming in and go, do you know what you should do? But you know what? Sometimes those people have a fucking point.
Right.
you know?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
One
Not
out
all
of
the
10
time.
of those people.
Right. But that you still have to listen to all 10 to go.
You do.
Oh
Right.
shit, that's
You
a
know,
really
least
good.
Everybody's going to come into your new place saying, you know what you should do? Even if they say, you know what you should do? You should paint your ceiling yellow. Like, really? That's what I should do? But somebody will come in one day and say, you know what you should do? You should do this. And you're like, oh, shit, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, that's how Bar Talk happened. Carl's like, I want to be on that.
No, I had this idea for a long time. There was no such thing as podcasts.
Yeah.
So
If
We
he
called
just
it a
wanted to
radio
talk out the
show.
voices in his head. So
Well, that's not how he pitched it. He's like, I want to be on Neil deGrasse Tyson's show. And like Star
I don't
Talk
wanna
goes,
talk about outer space. I want to
no. He's like, I want to be
Little
on
did
Bar
you know,
Talk.
2 moon podcasts later.
How many of these have we done? This is our 100th, right?
Getting close.
We're getting close.
96,
Third.
97.
Who knows? It's too many.
We're gonna do our 100th and not even know it, and then be like on 112, be like, oh
So
fuck, we missed the
little
100.
little insider baseball. What inebriate's 264? 264? Give or
Sure,
take.
let's just
Sure.
go with
Let's
that.
say 264. No, it's not. It's 266.
Oh, you lost 2 episodes.
No, we did not lose 2 episodes. There was
just
2
missed out?
episodes that I edited, and when I put them out, I put them up, and then when Fish put out the next episode, he hadn't put out the previous one. So he just
man.
counted in order that he had been counting.
And your
So
4 listeners were devastated.
inebriate's a lie.
It's like The Simpsons. Didn't The Simpsons do like a 106th episode spectacular or something? Like they
Yeah.
pick some arbitrary number.
Marlena Sanderson. How did I screw up Sanderson? Looking for ideas for Christmas gifts from my management team.
I like money.
Yeah, it's money.
Money's always the right size.
Yep.
Jesus Christ!
Kyle's back.
Wow.
Wait a minute.
We were
Go back and
we were
listen
so serious 5 minutes ago.
This is fucked up because you said the same shit last Christmas. I swear to God, go back and I'm having either that or having crazy deja vu. You said something about.
Someone just changed
That's
the
how
matrix.
you know he
Holy
means it.
shit!
I guess that's how
I
it
was
goes
all
down
like,
over
I'm proud
here.
of these guys. We're like on topic. We may actually be helping someone.
Yeah, that's why we love fish.
Fish sticks.
Yeah, you think that's not making the episode?
Just bleep it out.
Glad
so
we
it
answered
seems
that
worse.
question. Rocky Alexander, what's the key to keeping your line chicken moist? We put chicken in a lot of dishes. We keep the cooked chicken in the chef base, but want to see how you guys are keeping it from getting dry.
Don't cook tons of it.
I would say essential oils.
Maybe she's.
All right, so like have you guys ever watched My Name is Earl?
Dude, that's so weird. I was just thinking about that show yesterday. No, I've never watched it.
So
Yes.
his brother is the perfect liar at like 2 beers in, but if he has a third, he goes like off the rails. So like Karl goes off the rails at 2 Guinnesses.
I have an answer for that question, but I'm gonna
No, let's hear it.
reveal some shit from the Speedwell kitchen because everybody frowns upon using a microwave. I don't microwave chicken from raw, but we grill a batch of chicken every morning.
Okay.
Fresh chicken comes in, we season it, we grill it ourselves. So we're not grilling chicken order. It takes way too long, way too inconsistent. So we have it there, ready to go. Chicken wrap comes in, boom. So a trick brought to me by one of my cooks, Joe Ling Keating, friend of the show,
Yep.
also on Day Drinking. He throws it in the microwave in a container that has a little bit of water at the bottom, and it brings the chicken back up to temp and keeps it pretty moist. It doesn't dry it out in the microwave. You don't get that weird rubbery overcooked chicken thing. I was against it. I resisted it for a good 4 or 5 months. Finally, I did it one day. And I was like, oh, this makes a lot of fucking sense. So give that a shot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do you guys even serve chicken and stouts? Like,
We do.
do you go in the kitchen at all?
No,
I unfortunately, my no food days are long behind me. We cook it to order.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, there's so many, like, little tips and tricks. I remember when I first moved to Plymouth, we used to hang around on Fridays. I know. Judge me. It's fine.
No.
And
I
someone,
mean, that's not why we're judging you.
someone explained that
It's the only
every...
thing we like about you.
What? That
That
I
you
used to
went
hang
to
on
We're
Fridays?
able to judge it.
Oh, all right. That makes more sense. That every bar has ginger ale. They're like, it's Sprite with a splash of Coke.
Yep.
And we're like, that's bullshit. And they brought out a ginger ale and a Sprite with splash Coke, and none of us could tell the difference.
Well, Olive Garden doesn't
Really?
carry ginger ale.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy when
It
I
was
worked at-
bizarre, like to the point where you're like, that's bullshit. And then they brought it out, and you're like, I literally cannot distinguish the taste between
The
those two.
bar I came up and learned, I was
Yeah.
at for 9 years. We never carried ginger ale. Anytime someone ordered like a Jameson and ginger, something like that, Sprite with a splash of Coke. And
Yeah.
not once would you ever
Yeah.
get it sent back.
Yep.
Never.
It's bizarre. Like, it makes no sense. But
Or it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Maybe that's
I
what they're
guess.
doing,
I mean, maybe. I
right?
don't know.
Never says it has real ginger in it unless you're getting like Schweppes or something like that.
And then that shit's gross.
Who makes
We
Schweppes?
should try it out.
Who makes Schweppes money?
Want me to go mix it up right now?
No.
Okay.
That's terrible radio. Emily
Save it for
Ramsey,
drinking.
how do you handle
Good
people how do you handle people wanting to purchase gift cards over the phone? Is there anything I can do to protect the restaurant from scammers? I don't want to pass up money, but also don't trust people these days.
You set up an online store, right?
How do you scam
You can do an
people?
online store, yeah.
How do you scam people purchasing a gift card over the phone?
Like a stolen credit card?
It depends
Yeah.
on it depends on, I guess, when they put it in, what their system is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
But if you got a POS system and you're putting it through, then it takes it right away.
There are third parties that'll do it for you now too. If you have an older POS system that doesn't have that sort of database, like they won't, or your gift cards go just through that, and you can't. You'll have a company like Card Market or something like that will approach you and be like, "Hey, we'll handle all of your gift card sales. We just take a cut." Kind of like a DoorDash, but for gift cards. They'll mail it out. They'll do everything. They'll even print them. So I think that's the best way to go if you don't want to take them over. I don't take them over the phone. I did it for a little while, and it just got too much. And someone complained about the envelope I mailed it in. I'm like, I just don't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah, I just don't know how you would scam someone that
Unless
you're-
I bought the
it's
gift
stolen-
card and then they want you to read the number to them on the phone. That's the only way I could think of it.
Yes,
But like,
I don't know, but I mean, you're
See, we're not even smart enough to scam our own gift cards.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're pretty creative on how to like scam shit, but I just don't know. Like, I mean, you're getting paid for the gift card. Like, how could it be a scam?
Yeah.
Other than a stolen credit card, but I mean, you could say that about anything that
Yep.
you do.
And you're insured for that stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
That's bizarre. I don't know. We'll cover that on next year. We'll do some research and get back to you.
No, we won't.
No, we're
Oh,
totally not going to do
That's
that.
it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Michelle Huffines. How does everyone, oh man, sorry, Dan, letting you down.
Story of my life, Andy.
How does everyone create their to-go menu, catering menu, and make it printable as well and put it on Facebook? That's a lot of questions. It's such a basic need. I'm having to change it so often. It's become a huge problem. So basically menu management, like, is
Good question.
there an app?
I don't
would
get it.
ass-
So it's all you, buddy.
All right, so during COVID, we had a very weird limited menu, especially when we were doing just takeout. So everything was taken over the phone. People needed to see the menu before they came in. So I would post you don't want to post just a picture of your menu on it looks like shit. You want to do the file. And Facebook has this weird thing too. If you have too much text in your post, they'll
It buries it, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want you free advertising. They want you to pay for the boost, and even then, they don't let you do it. Anyway,
Sure.
there's an option on Microsoft Word, if that's where you're doing your menu, where you can convert it to a PDF. So you do that. That makes it a picture file instead of a text file. And then you open it in Adobe Acrobat, which you're going to need, and you can convert it to a JPEG because Facebook's not going to let you upload a PDF. So you have to have a JPEG or a GIF or another kind of picture file. Then you can post it on. It's an ass ache.
Can you? So we run into this shit all the time with Inebri Art because it's like, okay, so I have to create the Facebook event and the Eventbrite event and the event on our website, and it's just there's other places that I would like to put it. It gets to be a pain in the ass because it takes an hour to create one event,
Right.
and it seems like such a waste of time. Is there a way? Because I mean, everyone is getting into QR code. Oh, I suppose you can't take a picture of a QR code on your phone if you're looking at your phone. I was gonna say, can't you just post a QR code to your menu
You
on
could,
Facebook?
and it would scan it. It would bring you to your website, which you'd have to update just
Right.
like you would with your file.
But then you're
anyway.
updating
He's
like
saying
once.
you take a picture of your menu with the QR code on it, so it goes to your phone. But how do you take a picture of the
There's just a QR code on your
You're looking
phone.
at-
Right.
I was just trying to, because like if you can, I mean, ideally you update one place and it distributes to everywhere.
So you can do that.
Yeah.
And through Adobe, there's a way to create an HTML for the file. So as you're updating the file, it
Are
automatically.
you following this, Carl?
So you put that link to that file up on your website, whatever you're throwing it up. I don't know code.
Adobe.
So as you're editing it in real time, it's updating it on your page, and you never have to think about it anymore because just that link is associated with that file. But I haven't figured out how to do it yet, and I don't know if you can do it on Facebook.
All right. So my answer to this person is find someone who's super tech savvy and create a program that updates everything, and you only put it in one place, and you'll be a fucking millionaire.
It's out there. I think you just
Yeah.
talk to a web designer. I just haven't gotten that far yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's a way to do it.
Talk to nerds.
Yep.
Daniel Neff. Almost said Nerf. How much control do Cisco sales reps have over pricing? Do they have any
Cisco
control?
Brewery?
I assume they mean the food supplier.
Oh.
Do they say that? I'm sorry, say it again.
How much control
Little.
do Cisco sales reps have over pricing?
They have a lot of control. I don't know if that's changed a little bit over the last couple of years, but I've actually bagged my Cisco rep on inflating my pricing, especially because I was only going to him. I wasn't pinning him up against anybody else. So I had no point of reference to know if he was overcharging me or not. So, it might be a buck here, a buck there, but over the course of 6 months, now all of a sudden...
See, I took that question as the other way. How low can they go, not how are they?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In other words-
low, they don't have a lot of control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they can inflate it, though. They can definitely do that.
But this all boils down back to that, like, you're managing your restaurant, and Carl's even said that COVID has made him a much better manager. If you're getting bagged because you're not comparing prices and you're just kind of stuck in the system, that's on you.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
You know? Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's why.
And I'm not saying I don't do that shit too, but it's like after a while you're like, I don't know, is Geico really the best car insurance for me? I've been paying for like how many years? Like,
Right. And
Yeah,
or
make
is the
the- make-
time
make
for
the call.
Extra,
Yeah.
Right. If I'm paying $3 extra for a case of chicken, is it worth my time to pin them?
Right, and
Spend
that's-
3 hours every Monday going to Reinhardt, Cisco,
Right.
Gordon.
And that's the tough thing about having a restaurant is managing it. You're really going to manage it.
if you're a giant restaurant or a chain of restaurants, you pay one person to just do that.
Yeah.
Then
Correct.
they're making their wage plus. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you're a small business, I just don't think it's worth your time.
And it's amazing how much those little changes can save you over time. I was talking to, I think his name was Tyler. Worked for Kalahari Biltong. Great product.
Love that stuff.
Friends of the show. And he said he spent an entire day with just a tape mark on the floor trying to figure out how is the best, most efficient way to stack a pallet. Because it sounds stupid because you're saving like $6. He's like, but if you send out 100,000 pallets or however many pallets you're sending out a year, it's like that adds up to huge money, like real money. And it's, if you're making that many transactions, if you can save $1 a transaction, that'd be worth it.
It's true. We didn't answer that question.
I feel like we kind of did. We were sort of on target. Devin Curbs. Anyone else get offended/worried when a guest leaves more than half their food on their plate and no to go?
No.
No, you don't know where they're going after
No,
that.
my problem is when they want a refund for the meal.
Right.
But if they eat half of it and leave, then to me they're happy. They're just not as hungry as they thought they were.
Yeah.
Don't always take it
Yep.
as an insult.
You can't be so sensitive.
And maybe he's running out to the movies and doesn't want to friggin' take it with him.
Right.
I've definitely done that where you're like, oh, we're going someplace after,
Yeah.
and I don't want to run back to the car, just deal with it to go.
100 degrees outside and you got an hour drive.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I'm good.
And it also depends on like what is that half left over. I never finish fries. Fries don't reheat, man. Like
So, I guess what you got to look at is it the same dish that keeps coming back to the kitchen, only
yeah,
half eaten?
there you go.
Because then you can say my portion's too big.
Yep.
Right. And I just did that.
Yep, my portions are too
fried
big.
pickles. No one ever finished the fried pickles at Speedwell, so
Yep.
we did the new menu, we shrunk the portion.
Yep.
Now we're selling more fucking fried pickles than ever.
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. It makes no sense. There's no relation at all, but for some reason fried pickles spiked when we shrunk the portion.
But that's probably your best telltale sign that your portions are a little too big.
Yeah.
This is how bad it is. Like I'm so a creature of habit. I didn't realize you had fried pickles on the menu.
Yeah.
Go to Speedwell, I get chicken. Maybe
Yeah.
a chicken wrap if I'm feeling crazy.
I know what my last call is going to be.
Last call. This is the part where we go around and promote whatever we want to promote. God, I really want to steal his last call now.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to pitch this over to Dan Mahoney from Stats.
Check out Speedwell's fried pickles. Updated their portion size. Andy's never had them because he doesn't like change.
I'm going to go check him out.
He's
I
not
love
gonna-
pickles
He's gonna get chicken
Whatever.
and fried pickles.
and fried pickles.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
And then I'm going to only eat half of them.
He's gonna eat one
And
of
send
them
it back and be
leave
like,
them
damn it,
all
I want a refund.
Yeah.
They'd be like, why? I'm like, I just hear
This
you
is
guys do
bullshit.
that shit.
That's right. I'll just double charge you for something else.
One of my favorite stories. Oh my God, Jackie from Luciosa's. This is gonna sound like a dig, but
I love Jackie.
I love her. She's the best. I went in one day and they're one of those places that have popcorn. And so the person next to me got popcorn. She's like, "Do you want popcorn?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll have some." She goes, "For you, it's 25 cents." And I'm like, "Ah ha ha!" She fucking charged me 25 cents of the popcorn.
That's awesome.
That's what makes it.
Yeah, it was hysterical. Yeah. So, sorry, go on. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Karl Heine.
Fuck Santa.
I'm going to plug all those little breweries and restaurants that really want to open, and we just said don't because of saturation. Maybe that you're the place that everybody wants to go to, and you'll make it big. So you never know until you try.
And the Karl's heart grew 3 times that.
Just don't try it near me.
Jordan Shabbat. What do you got?
I'm not sure if this one's
Shabo.
coming out before or after Christmas, but it doesn't matter. Shop local. Amazon's convenient, sure, but you're not looking at the product. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're even going to get it time for Christmas. Go down the street. Go to your local brewery.
Says to the biggest Amazon customer there is.
Yun. Go to your local shop. You'd be surprised if you actually take a second and think about it, how many services and products are available in your local company, or, your local neighborhood. So yeah, shop local.
Yeah, because we already talked about how Karl services his managers in the back.
Yeah. It's a good, wholesome local service right there.
So on that note, this isn't really a plug. So this is a time of year that I always kind of reflect back. 18 years ago, last week, I lost my father, and I was determined that it wasn't going to be a bad thing in my life, or it's not as bad as I could be. And so I take this time of year to tell everyone who's important to me that they're important and I love them. That way I can fuck up the rest of the year and be like, well, I told them in December. So everyone on the show, including Fish, is super important to me. I love you guys.
Love you too, bud.
So I'm going to tell everyone who's listening, go out and, hug those people close to you. It's Christmas. High five them if you don't want to hug them if they're gross. Raise a glass, and we love you, listeners. So you can get us on bartalkcast@gmail.com. You can find us on all the socials at bartalkcast, and I think that's it. Send Jordan some hate mail; he really loves that. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/inebriart to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at inebriart.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at inebriart or at inebriart6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebriart, and all the other shows on the Inebriart Network, which you can find at inebriart.com. Thanks again for listening.